Would some honourable member care to move that the House takes note of miscellaneous business? Honourable Judith Collins.
Mr Speaker, I so move. Mr Speaker, well, desperate times call for desperate measures, and of course there's nothing as desperate as a Labor Party in freefall. We've had a Labor Party this weekend come out and decide that they are now going to compete for the 5% that New Zealand First has got. A party that has actually shown itself to be far more mature and better behaved in Parliament and elsewhere than David Shearer's Labor Party, led by Trevor Mallard. So what have we heard from the Labor Party this week? We've heard this whole new term today, the new term of second-hand houses. What's that? Actually, it's a house. It's a house, Mr Parker, it's a house. A second-hand house. It's what we live in, actually. As soon as we do, we live in it. Because actually what we are trying to address here is in fact an issue of not enough houses in Auckland in particular. That's not enough houses being built. We need 12,000 new houses or apartments in Auckland, and at the moment that we're only getting a third of that. The Labor Party policy at one stage was to build 100,000 houses. I'm not quite sure where they thought they were going to get the builders to do that or where they'd have the land, because the Labor Party has opposed every reform that we have put forward to the Resource Management Act to free up land. Every single time they're against it. You can only ever be guaranteed of that. And what has their answer been? Well, they had David Shearer on television this weekend. Well, that's a strange event because normally they send Sue Moroney to go and represent the Labor Party policies. And I can't understand why they didn't this time. It must be because she's a woman. It couldn't be for anything else. So, with their policy, what does it actually mean? Well, apart from the fact that it said if you're a foreigner, except Australians, because we had to have the Russell-Norman clause just to make sure that they kept Russell in the loop. If you're a foreigner but you're not Russell-Norman or an Australian, then of course you're going to have to turn up with your passport to prove that you should have a look through the homes, the second-hand homes that you're looking at. And then we've got the other bit of the policy that came out on Monday, which is how this is going to happen. Well, lawyers are going to guarantee that these home purchases of second-hand homes are going to live in them. Well, that's going to be interesting. I mean, actually David Parker said it was a second-hand home. I live in a second-hand home. Mr. Ryle lives in a second-hand home. Ms. Murata lives in we live in second-hand homes on this party, second-hand homes. But if they were that worried about the second-hand homes, why doesn't Mr. Shearer give them some of his second-hand homes? Because he's got more than one. He's got several. In fact, he's one of the people that wouldn't be able to do what he does now. And what about poor Helen Clark? She's got 5 second-hand homes, and she'd have to sell them up too. This policy achieves absolutely nothing other than it does this. It scratches an itch, and that itch is all about xenophobia. That's right. And that's all it did. 1/4 of all Aucklanders were born in some place other than New Zealand. And what that party over there, that party that once used to be a government, what they did is they descended down to the 5% lot. That's what they did. And for Rajan Prasad, the former Race Relations Commissioner, to still be in that party is an utter disgrace. And then we had Raymond Hull, who said he's got 5 houses, extra rental ones. Why doesn't he sell them? And of course, I don't know if he was actually born in New Zealand. No. Does that make him a foreigner? No. That's disgraceful what that party did to 1/4 of all Aucklanders. And the thing is, would it actually even work? Would it even work? And the answer is no. What we need is freeing up the land supply. We also need people to be able to access capital. And that party over there has now become the party of protectionism, the party that doesn't want foreign capital, doesn't want anybody with foreign money coming in. Apparently, I heard on the radio, on the TV, is that some foreign banks are lending to foreigners. Well, it's a shame that most of our banks happen to be Australians. It's a good thing Russell's still able to stay in, but that's what we're dealing with. It is utter rubbish. We've got to free up the land supply. We're reviewing the development contribution compliance costs. We've brought in a six-month consenting limits. We've brought in all of these measures to free up the land supply, not like that lot who are just xenophobes.
Mr. Speaker, you always know when you've hit the jackpot when they have a go at your policy. And I can tell you, Mrs.